Now, Brian Kelly.
Sure. Well, certainly excited to be playing in the SEC championship game. It has been quite a journey. I think this is a year since my press conference here, and really proud of our staff, certainly our players and everybody associated with LSU football. And the accomplishments that we've made here in a very short period of time. You've got to win it on the field. Our guys did a great job of playing their very best when their best was needed. And now we get an opportunity to play the #1 team in the country. And certainly have a great deal of respect for, Kirby and what he's accomplished. To do this, back-to-back years is a great accomplishment. And, obviously we have a great deal of respect for this football team that we're playing in Georgia, and we're excited about the challenge. So look forward to coming to Atlanta, being part of this championship, and, playing our very best football when it's needed.
We'll begin with questions with Wilson Alexander.
Hey, Brian, just wanted to check on Jaden Daniels. Will he play Saturday?
Well, I think the bigger question is, will you be able to make it? I heard you're a little bit under the weather. You're going to be okay?
Yes, it looks like I'll be all right. Thank you for asking.
Okay, good. Well, he's going to be good, too. He's had a good week of practice, and he'll play for us on Saturday.
Next, we'll go to Michael Cauble.
Hey, Brian, it's Michael. I had 3 J's. Can you give us an update on Josh as well as Jarek? How have they practiced and their expectations for play as well?
Yeah, I was really pleased with Josh yesterday. I think he looked like himself finally. This is an injury that, takes some time because of the way he runs. He's such a physical runner, and, he plays so hard. His physical exertion and effort is one where, he's not a guy that's going to go at, less than 100%. So I think yesterday was really the first time where I felt like, okay, we've got Josh back to where he needs to be, confident and effective. And Jarek was cleared through our concussions protocol, and he is, obviously going to play an important role for us as well.
Next up will be Jordan Hill.
Brian, what has B.J. Ojulari meant to this team, both on the field and off it?
Well, I would say off the field, he embraced the change. He embraced really the mission, and that is, graduating champions and the excellence that we wanted as a standard here from day one. And you need that, right? You need your best players to embrace that, and elected as a captain for us, led both on and off the field, and he's been an edge playmaker for us. So again, I think when you're talking about excellence, both on and off the field, B.J. Ojulari would be that guy that we would bring up.
Next, we'll go to Seth Emerson with The Athletic.
Brian, I know it's only been 1 year in the SEC with divisions, but what do you think is going to be the impact when divisions go away, and how that fits in with the playoff picture and the meaning of the SEC championship?
I'm so young to this league. I've kind of had blinders on, to try to get through day after day, and to have a kind of a bigger picture perspective of it is kind of hard for me right now. I can tell you this, that, our commissioner has got a great sense of what's best for the SEC. And I usually speak my mind and haven't had a problem doing that most of my career. It's helped me and got me in a lot of trouble. But in this instance, I would say, Greg Sankey would be the best one that would put us on the right path in terms of what's best for the SEC as a conference, and what's best for us as a national, national conference relative to the playoff implications. So I would defer to him, and whatever he tells me to do, I'm good to go on that.
Next up will be Leah Vann.
Hey, Coach. You mentioned the story a few weeks ago about Will Campbell coming to the sideline, noting what he needed to fix and how he was going to fix it as an example of freshmen having this special mentality. What are some other examples of these starting freshmen showing that mental maturity throughout this season?
Well, I mean, I could give you, a number of different examples of, Mason Taylor, who's just, playing a tight end position, but, involved in so many aspects. He's got to have, the ability to pick up the running schemes as well as all the passing schemes. And the tight end position is not an easy position to play, but to put the physical with the mental at that position as a true freshman, we saw with, Brock Bowers did it at Georgia. It's quite unique. And so just his ability to bring that every single day, in his first year here, I think is extraordinary, for a young player. Emory Jones, coming in after camp and being inserted into the starting lineup. You've got to have, a short memory, at that position in this league. There's such great pass rushers that you're going to give up a sack or two. But I think what I love about Emory is that he forgets it and he moves on to the next play. So each one of them has kind of these unique traits. And I think we know about Perkins and his ability to impact defensively look, we played him in 2 or 3 different positions already. And all of them, if you put them all together, we know about their physical ability, but it's been certainly their mental capabilities and their maturity beyond their years to come in and play at this level.
Next, we'll go to Mike Griffith of AJC Dog Nation.
Coach, I know that you obviously got many more years behind you as Notre Dame's winningest coach up there in South Bend than in Baton Rouge, but what gives LSU a higher ceiling to win championships than Notre Dame? I mean, it's quite a storied program, and now it appears there's more room for success at LSU than Notre Dame.
Well, I mean, look, there's so many different elements. I think Notre Dame has a great opportunity as well, and that's why I was there for 12 years. And we had opportunities, certainly in the college football playoffs and playing for a national championship. So we were right on the doorstep of playing for championships and winning national championships. What's unique about LSU is, the in-state recruiting. We didn't have that, certainly, at Notre Dame. It was much more national. So, you've got to go into each state and pull out the best players in those states at Notre Dame. Whereas you have it right here in the state of Louisiana. And this is the flagship university. Kids want to go to LSU. They grow up wanting to be a Tiger. So, there's a bit of an advantage, from that perspective, right out of the gates when it comes to recruiting.
Next, we'll go to Michael Scarborough.
Coach Kelly, you obviously did a fantastic job, you and your staff, filling holes with the transfer portal, and it benefited you greatly at the quarterback spot and defensive backs, et cetera. What are you guys expecting this to be like in this coming transfer portal season? Is it going to be beyond anybody's imagination? Are y'all doomsday scenario and what you might see?
Well, Mike, I think, obviously we're all in a situation where it's, uncharted territories in so many ways. Guys are saying they're in the portal, but the portal hasn't opened yet. I think everybody's, very conscious that, we're worried about tampering, things of that nature. You have to, re-recruit your own roster and making sure that retention is as important as recruiting now. So there are many more factors. Obviously, the NIL is part of this as well. So, I think we just, we're thinking about so many different things, but when you get down to it, it's protecting your roster, retention, player development, and then use the tools that are available to you. The portal is going to be a tool that everybody is going to look at, but you also have to understand that, with that comes, a chance to upset the chemistry of your football team too. So you got to be very intentional. I think you have to be moving in to this next week or so very carefully, because you've got to balance recruiting freshmen with the transfer portal and retaining the players on your own roster. So it's going to be a very interesting next couple of weeks.
Next, we'll go to Scott Rabelais of the Baton Rouge Advocate.
Hey, Brian. You have obviously been in playoffs and bowl games in your career, but you had that one experience in the ACC championship game a couple of years ago. It's an unusual situation being a COVID year, but what, if anything, do you take from that experience that you can apply to this game?
Not really that much. I mean, I think in terms of, just balancing your schedule, because you're losing opportunity relative to, staying ahead of it and recruiting. I think it's just balancing your schedule more than anything else. The preparation is the same. There's no difference. We're preparing just as if this is, a 13th game. Obviously the best team in the country, but preparing it the same way, Scott. No change there, but you have to adjust your schedule accordingly based upon not being able to do recruiting.
Next will be Connor Riley of Dog Nation.
Yeah, hey, Brian, this is your third time matching up against Kirby Smart, both in 2017 and 2019. Georgia came away with the wins those games. Sorry to bring that up, but what were your sort of takeaways after playing that Georgia program those two times?
They're really good, well coached, good players, very competitive games. One of them was home, one of them was away, and they were great atmospheres. It's just really good college football. And, look, it's going to be a similar situation. We're going to play a physical football team that has the style of its head coach. They're going to play great defense. They're going to be physical on both sides of the ball. And just that's the nature of a well-coached football team that's won a national championship and is competing for another. So you know what you're going to get here. I mean, everything's going to come very difficult. Nothing's going to be easy. You're going to have to earn everything. And quite frankly, that's the exciting part about it. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get a really well-coached football team, fundamentally sound, and they're going to play hard for 4 quarters, and it's going to challenge your football team to play its very best as well. It doesn't get any better than this.
Next will be William Weathers of Tiger Rag Magazine.
Good afternoon, Coach. I want to ask you about one of your better stories, I think, this year. Your leading scorer is a walk-on kicker who didn't see the field at all last year. And just to what you and the staff, you and Coach Polian saw in the offseason, and just how he's converted it to the game field and become a weapon for you when you needed him.
Yeah, we're so smart. We didn't invite him to camp until the very end. That's how smart we are. But when he came to camp, he demonstrated his, I would say, consistency more than anything else. We have some, really good young kickers. But I thought that what Damian really exhibited, in camp and then, leading into the preseason was the consistency, and nothing seemed to really bother him. He had a really good routine, and we just felt comfortable that we knew what we were going to get from him. And yeah, we're not perfect there, but I think what we know is that we're going to be in it with him, and he's not going to be overwhelmed by the moment. He's going to be able to stick with his routine, and he's going to put a good effort on every single kick that he's asked to make.
Next, we'll go to Seth Lewis of KATC.
Hey, Coach, can you speak to Malik Neighbors' impact on the offense, especially on third down?
Well, certainly he's developed a relationship with, Jaden, one that, certainly we trust. They trust each other, and we match him up in a position where he gets, quite a bit of one-on-one matchups. Teams sometimes have to double cover him, which, clearly can influence how we can get the ball to other receivers as well. But, he's been, obviously very consistent for us. I think that relationship that, Jaden has developed with him relative to the timing, getting the ball out of his hands before he gets out of the break has really been, I think, more than anything else, why third down has been so effective, because coverage is so tight on third down. Everybody knows what you're trying to do, and, you just have to be so efficient, and your throws are, they're phone booth throws. I mean, they're tight throws into tight windows. But they've built a really good repertoire, and they're on the same page. And I think that's what has been the difference between Malik and why he's led our team in receptions up to this point. Well, certainly, there were times that we were not happy with our passing game against Arkansas. But leading into those games, I thought we were extremely efficient, moved the ball down the field. I think it's like anything else, quite frankly, is that you can't be predictable. You've got to be able to push the ball down the field, different levels. You've got to attack, the defense in all areas. If you're predictable in terms of where you're going to throw the football, defenses are going to take that away. So I think it's really much more about, being more aggressive and attacking all areas of the field, which opens up, the ability to hit some more of the higher percentage passes that keep the chains moving and keep you ahead of the chains, quite frankly.
Next, we'll go to Palmer Toms of Dawes XQ.
Brian, you talked briefly about those two previous meetings against Georgia. Obviously, they've had some coordinator changes since then. Mm-hmm. What are the biggest schematic differences between those Georgia teams and this Georgia team?
I'd say there's probably more similarities on defense than there are on offense. I think there's a little bit more wrinkles, if you will, on the offensive side of the ball. I think, every defense is going to have a little bit of a change in personality, but, they're 3 down, 4 down. They're going to mix it up on third down. Their third down packages are difficult. Obviously the personnel is outstanding on the defensive side of the ball as it is on offense. But I think maybe, the offensive structure is one where there are more things to defend and, make it difficult, especially with both the tight ends. The two tight ends make it very difficult because of personnel and, they take away, some of your calls from a defensive perspective. They take away, some of your calls from a defensive perspective.
We'll go back to Michael Cobble.
How has the preparation been this week in anticipation of this game?
Sometimes, pregame, sometimes postgame. How has the preparation been this week in anticipation of this game?
Yes. Help us in our performance. And, it's not just what we do on the practice field. It's the decisions that we make away from the field. It's all the things that we do relative to nutrition, sleep, the training room, film study, And our guys are building better habits with that. And that's really what this has been about. It's how they think about it, and it's the habits that they've been building relative to their preparation. And we've come a long way, quite frankly. And this week, they've been very intentional, understanding how important it is playing, Georgia, the best team in the country, that those habits have to be really good if they want the kind of performance that they're looking for.
We have a follow-up from Scott Rabelais.
Brian, maybe you're aware of this or not, but you guys are a pretty significant underdog according to Las Vegas in this game. Do you want your players to be thinking about trying to shock the world? Does that enter into the whole process, or is just focus on the kinds of things that have gotten you to this point, no matter who you're playing?
Yeah, I think, look, social media is so prevalent out there. They don't live in a cave, so they don't need me to bring things up. They knew that they were a 10-point favorite against Texas A&M, and look what that did for them. So, look, the distractions of social media do not help in your preparation. So what we've tried to do is get them to think the right things about what's important in their preparation. And if you think that you get into the right emotional zone because you're an underdog, well, that's fine. But it's still about your mental, your physical, your technical and tactical preparation, and whether you're an underdog or a favorite. That has nothing to do with your total preparation, and that's how we try to get our guys to think.
Glenn West of 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, we've talked a lot about it this week, but just, it's a very unique offense you guys are going against with these two tight ends that are so prolific. Just as the week has gone on, just what's the progress been like in terms of how you're going to try to defend these guys, and without going too deep into the weeds, obviously, but just the matchup that those guys pose?
Yeah, I mean, you have to game plan for them, or they're going to wreck your day. I mean, it's as simple as I can get it. So it's not I don't think, a secret that, both of these guys can, in particular, what Bowers does is that, he does everything from getting handoff sweeps to screens to verticals to seam routes. Going to do a little bit of everything with them. And, I think Coach Monken does a great job with them. But, Washington splits out as a receiver. They're difficult to defend. So, yeah, you have to have a game plan. If you don't, you're going to have some problems.
We'll go to Anthony Dasher of UGAsports.com.
Hey, Coach. Not sure how much, if any, you went back and looked at the 2021 Georgia team in preparation for this. But if you have, what have been some of the subtle differences in the Bulldogs' offense that you noticed compared to last year?
Yeah, I would say it's probably a little bit more two tight end. I think that they've utilized McConkey very well, very strategic in terms of getting him the football. I just think look, this is the classic case of an offense that uses players over plays, and that's good coaching, right? You're not going to carry a scheme just because, this is the scheme we run. I think it's, an outstanding quarterback, right, who's extremely confident and gets the ball to the guys that have been making plays. And so this offense has been successful because the coordinator is leading them, and Kirby is leading them towards, get the guy the ball that makes plays for us. And that's in the running game too. They've got an outstanding offensive line. So, just good coaching and getting the ball to the players that should have the ball in their hands.
We've got time for one more question, and we'll go back to Wilson Alexander, the Advocate.
Brian, you said earlier this week how you were in favor of more teams in the playoff. Obviously, now officially today there will be a 12-team playoff starting in 2024. Why is it that you are in support of this, and what do you think it does for LSU as you move forward?
forward?
I just like more access, I guess. I'm a Division II football coach. I know, I grew up with, more teams involved in the playoffs. I like that atmosphere. So I don't know that I have any kind of, earth-shattering statements on it. I just like more access. I think it's, you get some playoff games on campus, then you involve, the bowl games, you keep them involved in it. I think it keeps more teams in the hunt as the season goes on in terms of vying for playoff spots. I think it's exciting for college football, and I don't think in any way it takes away from the championship, the conference championships. We'll see how that goes. That's certainly up for discussion, but excited about the growth, and I think it just keeps obviously the interest in the playoff chase further into the season.